Jennifer, I feel so honored to speak to you for this project. I was so blown away by your performance to a point where I never saw you on screen. I always saw Aretha Franklin, and it was such an immersive experience from the filmmaking and your performance. I know you've spoken about the American Idol aspect and how that you performed her song for your audition, which is obviously one of the most incredible things I've ever heard from a Journey perspective. But one thing I found interesting about that is when you did that audition, you were singing as Jennifer Hudson and singing one of her songs. In the movie, you are singing as Aretha Franklin. Emotionally, what is the difference between those two things in terms of like when you performed in front of Idol, but then also in this case, you're actually playing Aretha. So what's that difference?
Wow, that's a great question. Because that is something as an actor we have to consider. Like, okay, how do I make this different from the world hearing Jennifer Hudson sing in tribute Aretha, I don't know how many times, starting with my American Idol audition. But in the film, I'm an actress first. So this isn't Jennifer Hudson's approach or perspective on the song. This is me channeling whatever her influence was on me, with how she would approach a song in mind, or what we're used to hearing come from her, and creating, like, allowing whatever influence that was. It wasn't to be an imitation of her, but like, okay, let's pay homage to this by using her nuances, approaching it how she was singing. I worked with the dialect coach, Tom Jones, and we studied the voice, and it was like, okay, where does Aretha sing from? Oh, she sings from the top of her head. And I was like, well, where do I sing from? He like, well, you sing from your feet. And okay, well, all right. Yes, our instruments, they can lend to the same things, but they're built differently. So I had to use her approach of like how she shaped her mouth when she sings or projects certain notes versus how I would project and sing certain notes.
Now that you're on the other side of the performance, the movie is done, it's out there, and I can't wait for people to see it. Emotionally, do you feel different as a human being, as a person, after playing her?
I feel more, I guess I would say, in tune with myself from this experience, that much more, because that was something she was always drilling into me to say, like, you have to tap into who you are, your voice, from your experiences. And I used a lot of that for moments like that in the film, to draw from. And it's caused me to own that, want to own it that much more now after, coming off of the film.
My favorite scene in the movie, one of my favorite scenes, is that moment where that woman meets you in the hotel lobby. And she says, I'm a fan, and every time I listen to your music, I feel like you're speaking to my life experiences. So I wanted you to go back kind of when you first started hearing Aretha's music for the first time. Did you feel that same way? Did you feel like she was speaking to your life experiences as well?
Oh, definitely. And I still do, but that's the power in what she created, who she was, and the power of music, and I think that's why the impact has been so great coming from her, but for sure.
I read a lot about you. You're talking about the idea that she was handpicked. She handpicked you for the role, and you had a lot of conversations with her. But I was wondering, was there a moment when it all clicked for you, when you really felt confident and comfortable in her skin and finding the voice and the singing voice and the speaking voice? Do you remember that all coming together and kind of finding that moment where you could become her?
I feel like it came in different ways. Bits and pieces of having moments like that, but I feel like the strongest push or encouragement was knowing she said, Jennifer, you can do this, I want you to do this. And that's what gave me the encouragement to be able to do it, because it's not an easy thing, it's the Queen of Soul, and it's like, how do you approach something so massively,
Right.
But it was her encouragement that pushed me through it.
Well, you were phenomenal in the film. Congratulations on your incredible performance. I can't wait to take my wife to see it. I was blown away by the filmmaking, the cinematography, everybody.
The costuming.
Oh my God, the costuming was incredible. The performances, the Madison Square Garden moment, it felt like I was actually there when you were singing Respect. It was so cool. It really was.
Thank you.
There's a great moment in the film where a fan walks up to Aretha Franklin, Jennifer's character in that moment, and says, Listen, when you sing, it sounds like you're singing to my personal life stories. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just like really great moment with the fan. I was curious, you've touched a lot of lives in terms of comedy and drama throughout the years in terms of your performances. Do you have fans come up to you and say, listen, when you did this bit or that bit, it spoke to my personal experiences?
Absolutely, all the time. When I do stand up, like my mom had passed and I was like sitting at home and I was depressed. And so I just started doing a set and I go out and I do stand up and I talk about my mom. And after the show, people come up to me and tell me, you know, that spoke to me. I just lost my mom and it's so good to remember all the beautiful things about her. And, you know, it made me smile. And I wasn't sad. I learned to celebrate her passing because of your stand-up. And, you know, that type of stuff makes you feel good, you know? So, you know, drama is one thing, and that emotions, you know, it's like respect's gonna make people feel one way. And I got and it's crazy because I have like Respect comes out August 13th. I have a stand-up comedy special coming out on HBO Max August 19th, and I talk about the worst things that's happened to me, but it's gonna be enlightening for other people.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing to hear. I'm gonna switch gears here because growing up, Don't Be a Menace to South Central was a film that I would watch constantly, and that movie just turned 25 this year. 25.
Old as hell, ain't? 25. I never thought I made it to 19 in the hood.
But I wanted to ask you, 25 years later, what that movie means to you. I mean, to me, that is.
I want to do a sequel to that one. And you just see Loc Dog's hairline receded, his antennas back here. He only got 3 braids left. Still living at his mama's house. I love the fact that me and my brothers, when we made movies, we never set out to make a movie. We always set out to make a classic. And it's funny because critics always hated our movies. They'd be like, there's no story, there's no this, there's no that. But we was going, yeah, but there's all these classic jokes and then literally 25 years later, people still love those movies. Like new generations. I got 10-year-old kids come to me going, man, I love Scary Movie. And I'm like, yo, first of all, you're 10. Why are you even watching Scary Movie? But you know, I think sometimes we was always misunderstood, but all we cared about is those laughs that you just, you know, you just feel like you're 16 again.
So I just thought the live music aspect of it was so incredible. And I wanted to ask for you particularly to be in those rooms during those recording sessions in the production of the film and to have that live element happening around you. How incredible was that in terms of like, I mean, I know you're playing a character in that moment, but that must have been surreal just to hear all that.
Well, yeah, the attention to detail paid to the sets and, you know, and Liesl, the director, Liesl Tommy was like, so like, it was clear that, you know, a big focus of this film was making those songs really kind of like, you know, ring true and pop and come off the screen. So we were doing those songs a lot. I mean, we were in that studio a lot, and you know, different takes and different moments, and seeing Jennifer work, and all the guys who played musicians were actual musicians. So you know, every once in a while, you know, on a break, you know, we'd all jam. You know, I play a little guitar, and it was great. But seeing her, you know, she's really kind of an amazing talent, and it is kind of transcendent. It was exciting.
You know, I didn't see you on screen. I saw the character you were playing. There was something like really special about this film where everybody was truly their characters to a point of like pure immersion. And I liked your character in the sense that he would like try to de-escalate any drama. He would even apologize when he didn't really have to. And I wanted to ask about maybe like finding his vibe, his tone, and kind of when it clicked for you as an actor.
Well, it was sort of, you know, I did a lot of reading on Jerry. You know, I read his autobiography that he wrote with David Ritz, and I know a lot of the music he was involved with. I own a lot of the records. So he was sort of a fascinating guy. You know, he's a Jewish guy, comes from New York, but was like spiritually atheist and I learned a lot about him. And I found what I related and what I didn't, but he was a tough customer. He was not to be, you know, screwed around with. But you know, in terms of how he functioned with talent, it's clear that he had a sort of gift for it. And in order to deal with egos, you do have to be somewhat diplomatic. So de-escalating and still sort of moving towards the goal of pushing talent is it's a delicate thing, and he seemed to be a real master of it, given the people that he worked with. So
you found,
and half of that was really finding where me and Jennifer were, and and just sort of seeing that emotion unfold in real time in the scenes. It's on the page, so you can find it in the scene if you let yourself.
Wow, it was incredible, the balance that he kind of had in those rooms, like especially with Marlon and kind of those arguments and the way he de-escalates. It was really fascinating to watch. I'm a big fan of your podcast, and I co-host a film podcast called Real Blend, and we sometimes have guests on that you have on. We did a 2-hour thing with Tarantino for his book release recently. I know you had him on for that as well. And I was just wanted to ask you what the preparation that goes into your podcast interviews, in terms of like, is it like a all week thing? Like what, like in terms of like what is your preparation process before you jump into an interview?
Well, I get like, I tend to get a week before I start to dread the interview. And then, I get anxious, and then I just try to wrap my brain around the person from the information available. And hopefully I'm excited about something that will be the seed of a conversation that will thread through the thing. I'm not big on asking questions. I'm not big on sort of like going over the history, especially of somebody who's very prolific. The best thing that can happen is something organic and respectful. But if you don't know you're on the mics anymore and you just get lost in the conversation, that's what I'm gunning for. And so usually in my mind, I have a place to start, and I hope it works. That's how I do it.
If you were to have Jennifer on your podcast for this movie, how would you prepare for that? I mean, I know you're in the movie together, but what would be something you'd be interested in asking her?
Well, it'd be interesting to sort of like, given that she sort of came through and kind of transcended from, where she did. I mean, wasn't she a contest winner?
At American Idol. Yeah.
So, that doesn't always end well. Right. So like to sort of like transcend that beginning, which is sort of like, you can become a novelty act, but instead to become this brilliant performer who always had, I would definitely have a good conversation. I'm trying to get her on the show, and then she's right down the hall, and it's still complicated.
Well, I would listen to that episode. They're wrapping me up, Mark. I want to say congratulations to you. You were incredible in this film. Keep up the amazing work. Your podcast is incredible, and I hope you're staying safe, and hope to see you in person next time for an interview, sir.
Thanks, pal. Good talking to you.